Ready to go? Audio is on. We're recording. Beautiful. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for the slight tardiness. It is now 6:04 p.m., October the 13th, 2020. I hereby call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under
God,
indivisible, with
liberty
liberty
and justice
for all.
Please remain standing. Councillor Justin Salazar Torres, if you could please lead us in an invocation.
Father God, we come before you, Lord, just thanking you, Lord, for all your many blessings, Lord. We pray that as we progress through this meeting, Lord, we pray less of us and more of you, Lord, that you just give us a wisdom and guidance, and that we let your will be done. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Ms. Velasquez, can you please take roll and determine the quorum? Ms. Serrano will be at the helm today. Ms. Serrano, could you please take roll and determine the quorum?
Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Honored to be here.
Councillor Justin Salazar Torres.
Present.
Councillor John Ramon Vigil.
Present. Can someone turn off their mic? It's got a lot of back feed.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
Good evening, I'm present.
Councillor John L. Ritchie. Councillor Manuel J. Martinez.
Present.
Councillor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
Present.
Councillor John L. Ritchie. Mayor Javier E. Sanchez.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a?
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Councillor Manny Martinez and a second from Councillor Justin Salazar Torres. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez.
In favor.
Councillor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
In favor.
Councillor Justin Salazar Torres.
In favor.
Councillor John Ramon Vigil.
In favor of the motion.
Councillor Manuel J. Martinez.
In favor?
Councillor Denise D. Benavides.
In favor.
All right, the motion carries. We have an agenda approved. We'll just ask for your patience. We have some background noise. Don't know where it's coming from yet, but we'll continue until it becomes an issue. We'll now move on to Roman numeral number 5. We have our consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar and a second from Councilor Manny Martinez. All those in favor, please, we'll take a roll call.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor for the motion.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor John L. Ritchie. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll now move
Um,
on to public.
Mayor, if I may, this is Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar. I'm also for the motion.
My apologies, Mayor Pro Tem. We didn't mean to skip. I think we were too busy worrying about Councilor John Ritchie.
That's fine, sir. Thank you.
All right, very good. So now we'll go on to public comments. Ms. Serrano, do we have anyone listed?
We do. Miss Anna Romero.
Thank you very much, Ms. Romero. Please, you're welcome to come up to the podium, mention your name first and last for the record, and we would love to hear from you.
My name is Anna Randall Romero. I live at 64 Valley Drive.
Mayor, we can't hear her. Her mic must not be on.
All right, hold on 2 seconds. Thank you, Counselor, for letting us know. We'll just do a mic check. If you could, into the microphone, mic check.
Mic check.
Were we able to hear it, counselors?
Mic check.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hear you. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. My name is Ana Randall Romero. I live at 634 Valley Drive. That's on the corner of Sunset and Valley. The official address is 614. After much thinking, after last week's city council meeting and planning and zoning meeting,
Quick, slow down. Let's see if we can turn off the volume. Try it again. Just by doing a quick mic check, we'll be able to get it.
mic check.
Oh, wait a minute. We still got a second echo.
This is Counselor Peggy Sue. I hear her clearly on my end.
Yeah, I hear her as well.
You can hear her clearly. We're just getting an echo here at City Hall, and it's preventing the speaker from really being able to say anything.
Can you hear me now?
We're still getting that echo. Is that time delay? But I hadn't heard that before.
I think you guys just have to mute the computer so you don't hear the YouTube feedback or the delay. Thank you.
We get feedback when I speak. We don't get the same echo when I speak, right? If you would like to, you could come here. I'll move out of the way and you'd be welcome to give the video and audio from this perspective. Is that good? All right, why don't we do that? You're welcome to come around this way. And we'll have video as well as audio. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'll start all over. My name is Ana Randall Romero, and I live on the corner of Sunset and Valley. It's 614 Valley Drive. After last week's planning and zoning meeting and the city council meeting, I've given it a lot of thought. I'm not in agreement with all the residents or the petition. The ones who presented here last week, the Quintanas and Mr. Trujillo, they said the petition was signed by 42 residents. I think some of those residents were misled to thinking they were only signing an agreement to closing off McCurdy Road at Valley Drive. But anyway, in my opinion is I'm opposed to a stop sign, which they're strongly proposing. And one of the reasons is because I live in the middle of Valley Drive. And in the past, they've tried to put that there. It's a safety issue. It's a safety concern. There's children who live across the street from me. It gives people, when they stop, that's if they would stop, the opportunity to look at our houses. It would be an endangerment for the children there. I do not feel a stop sign there in the middle would be a solution. I'm also pretty much opposed to the speed bumps, humps, and dips that they're proposing. It's really hard on our vehicles, and and the fire department expressed their concern as well as to how it would reduce their response time. I think that maybe patrolling the road would be better. I go up and down that road a lot. I go to my parents, I go to my work, I'm working from home. I meet clients at Walmart, I do a lot. And 2 of the city councilors proposed a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit, which I think is no disrespect, but I think it's unreasonable due to the fact that that's what they use at parking lots like Walmart, driving in here, and people don't abide by that. I think we're back to the reason of just keeping the speed limit at 20 miles per hour and having the speed limit enforced. I think if you reduced it to 2 miles an hour, it still wouldn't make a difference if it's not enforced. Roundabouts were suggested. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think we have room for that. Let's see, I had some other. Oh, they also proposed making it a safety corridor. Safety corridors are meant for highways, not residential streets. They're meant for highways in which a traffic study has been done and many fatalities have happened or many crashes. They're not meant for residential areas. So I don't think that's a solution to the problem. I do feel closing off the road is a solution, but I don't know if that's possible. So for now, the best solution at this point is maybe to have the law enforcement patrol that area a little more strongly. There's a lot of people walking around. It's just kind of, and you know, that's to be expected with the businesses that have opened on that side of the road. We have to remember, this is a street. It's always been a street. It always will be a street. And we can't go back to the 60s when there wasn't traffic. We have to face the reality that this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to be. It's a through road at this time. And really, you feel safe walking it. I personally don't walk. I go walk at a park and things, but I mean, if people choose to, but I mean, we'd have to remember it's a street, and I do think the speed limit should be enforced, not changed or have all the other things. But that's my opinion, and I just wanted to express it. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. I really appreciate it.
Honorable Mayor, if I may, just for a point of clarification.
For a point of clarification, thank you, sir.
It was for Mrs. Romero. It was during our Public Safety Committee meeting, not the Planning and Zoning meeting or City Council meeting, just for the record.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I have a
And,
comment.
Okay, we'll go one comment and then proceed. Go ahead, Councilor.
Ms. Romero, Anna, you know, you bring a really good instep because you've been in that neighborhood for quite some time. Your grandparents lived in that neighborhood. In terms of reducing the speed limit because of the traffic, not looking at all these solutions that have been proposed, what would you recommend other than increased law enforcement? And would you say that a good consensus, because at Public Works, we talked about this, do you believe a good large consensus of the neighborhood feels this way, that there should not be speed bumps?
I'm not sure. I feel a lot of them do want speed bumps, but it's because they are in areas where the speed bumps don't affect them. They want things, but they don't want it in front of their house. They don't, they propose things, but it's kind of meant for other areas. So like, for example, if they want a stop sign, it's not in front of their house. They want a speed bump, it's not in front of their window. I've had that. So I think if they want it, it's fine in front of their house. Maybe if the city agrees to it. I personally don't want it. I have a stop sign in my yard and I have enough to deal with that. So personally, I don't want another stop sign and I don't want a speed bump. The other solution is closing off McCurdy Road. I don't know if that's possible. But I think raising the speed bumps is, I mean, have you been up that road like by the Zia Estates or something like over there in El Llano where there's speed bump after speed bump after speed bump? Have you ever heard the cost that it has to maintain their vehicles, how it ruins the suspension? I mean, my parents are elderly. I visit them like 3 times a day. I go up that way. I go to Walmart into town another 3 times a day. I mean, it would take a toll on my vehicles. I mean, some of those people are, maybe they just stay home, but I don't.
Thank you again so much for your commentary. We really appreciate it. I think maybe we can have, absolutely, maybe we can have another neighborhood discussion or something like that. Thank you. Before we proceed, can we go to recognizing Councillor John Ritchie, who just entered?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. So for the record, he's joined the meeting. Very good.
Noted.
Do we have any other comments?
That concludes public comment, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to committee chair updates and councillor comments. Councillor Justin Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to give an update for public safety. We had a very good meeting. We had disagreements and agreements, and of course, that's healthy for any relationship, but wanted to go over a little bit of things. I know the Valley Estates issue was part of our agenda for public safety. And to let everybody know, one of the beginning steps to this was Chief did mention that they were going to do more patrols. He did give his number out to the residents that were present for our meeting and asking them to give him timeframes on when they had the most traffic, etc. I know that it was mentioned by a counselor to lower the speed limit to 5 miles an hour. Then there was another suggestion for 10 miles an hour. So that's something we're going to be working on just for the meantime. It's some sort of a fix, but it's not going to fix everything. The other thing that we had was for that same argument for Valley Estates. Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez brought up a great point that for a petition, since it's 2 roads, that they needed to get a certain percentage per road for the petition. So I think that's something that the residents were working on. But I just want the council to know that that this isn't just going to be heard once and be swept under the rug. We are going to be listening to this periodically and getting some different ideas to help out those residents in Valley Estates. We are also, I want to thank Councilor Denise Benavides for joining us for public safety. It's always nice to have a fellow councilor who's not part of the committee to join us. It was great having her. And then the last thing is I'd like an update from if Chief is joining us or City Manager, etc., on where we are with the application with DOT for the HOV resolution or ordinance. Or OHV, excuse me, sorry about that.
City Manager, would you like to hold off on mentioning your updates and include that with your department reports?
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, absolutely, I can go ahead and mention that in my updates.
Thank you.
We have Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
Yes, Mayor, thank you very much. I just want to congratulate two departments that I'm aware of. Last week, the FBI came to town and they gave a presentation and recognition of our very own Espanola Police Department to Chief Jimenez, to the officers and the entire staff, with their help in catching a felon that, you know, had been out for like 40 years, I think, and he was hiding in Espanola. So the FBI was in town, and it was a really good ceremony, and I think it was a well-deserved honor. Another department that received another huge recognition is our planning department. They received a first place award at a multi-state American Planning Association conference, and this was for the Fairview Corridor project. And again, acknowledgement for their hard work into that. So I just want to recognize these two departments for the very fine job and the hard work, and these are very huge honors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Do we have any comments from Darth Vader in the back?
Aha, there, Mayor. No, sir, no comments today. I just want to thank the staff. They've been doing a great job. I've seen them out there working in the water streets. They've been out there doing a really good job. So just want to thank them for everything they're doing. As far as community services, we will be having an upcoming meeting to discuss several situations that are coming up with, I believe, one of our tenants that we have there at the Beatrice Center, the senior center. So we do have some stuff coming up. I'll be able to report more on that on our next meeting, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Denise Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of things. I do want to go ahead also and thank Espanola Police Department. They were featured, I believe it was Friday night on Channel 7 News. The one thing that I will comment on that is that, you know, it would be nice to know when there's a ceremony that, you know, some of us could be present. So, you know, an email, quick email, you know, and if we can show up, we can, you know, we can't always be there, but kudos to EPD. They were recognized and it was really nice to see them on the news. So thank you to them. Secondly, I want to give a shout out to CNC Motorcycle. They invited me to participate in an event on Saturday morning. It was a huge event. And so I just want to give a shout out to them as well. And I wanted to mention that I'm currently partnering with Santa Fe County, and we are going to be offering rental assistant payments to anybody affected by COVID who is behind currently on rental payments. We are also going to be offering assistance with mortgage payments, anybody behind on mortgage payments. And we're still kind of working out the details. Mortgage payments will probably be grants of about $7,500 or so. I know that Santa Fe County, I'm not involved in that project, but we're also going to be bringing broadband to Santa Fe County. As soon as I have the actual details as to where anyone can sign up to receive assistance for all of Santa Fe County, District 3 and Santa Fe County outside of District 3, they are all encouraged to participate and take advantage of this funding. The one other thing that they can also take advantage of is we are going to be offering for those who maybe don't have a home because they weren't able to pay the rental payments. We are going to be providing assistance with security deposit, first month, last month's rent. So once I have the information, I'll get it out so we can get the information on the city website so that everybody knows how to participate for some of this funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Benavides. We're going back to Darth Vader, and then we'll go right back to Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, Councilor Benavides did remind me, Santa Fe County right now does have a project. They are also helping people with utility bills. You do need to get on their website or contact their office to fill out an application. So if you are in need of assistance with their utility bill based on especially with what's happening with COVID, they do have money for assistance in that program, sir. So I just wanted to make sure that people know that they can contact Santa Fe County if you're in the Santa Fe County area or residents, and they do have money that they are able to assist you with as well. Sir, and also I just wanted to give a shout out to a new business that's in town that opened up, Little John's specialty sandwiches that just opened up near McDonald's and Anytime Fitness. If you haven't gone out there, give it a try. It's very good gourmet sandwiches. And if possibly, I'd like to see if maybe during the city manager's report, if he could give us an update of any new businesses that do come to town or are coming to town so that we can recognize them, sir.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing Councillor Justin Salazar Torres forgot to mention is that we also dwelled into the possibility of the use of electronic speed monitoring system for the entire city, something that could be moved around, not only specific to one neighborhood, that would probably sit on some type of a trailer, and what the cost of that would be for the city at large, either to lease it or purchase it, and what it would cost for the company that would own it to what their take would be as far as collecting fines. So that's the next thing that's going to come up at the next meeting. The chief has agreed to look into that and see what that looks like as far as cost, because that could be another option for slowing down traffic in neighborhoods. I do have a grave concern that deals with the utility bill hookup fees. Recently, I had a constituent off of Angel Duran Drive that gave the city an easement to run 5 water lines for 5 different families through his property, and now he decided to get off of a well and to try and get onto city water, and the hookup fee for him is very expensive, over $3,000. And part of that fee deals with a water rights fee. And the city collected that from everybody for a long time. But the issue that I have with it now is that we have an entity like Cuatro Villas that is servicing their community in La Puebla with 70 plus families receiving city water at the same price that my constituents get it. And none of those families paid that fee or paid the hookup fee. We just made the deal with Cuatro Villas at large. And my concern is that I don't really feel that that's fair to the constituency here who has established the enterprise system for this community. So I think that it's time for us to look at that water rights fee, and especially in a situation where you have somebody that has been generous enough to provide 5 families with easement for water line through his property. The line is already on his property, and yet he's being charged that exorbitant fee to hook up to a system that he already has on his property. So those kinds of things are things that I think we could be working on as far as the ordinances go and things like that. So I think it's time to really take seriously how we can move Española forward, and we need to think about, are we at a point where we're billing and charging people so much that it's easier and cheaper not to live in the city of Española? And I'm very concerned about that. The other thing is that if people that are on a well and they want to move into a city system, then I think we should make it as plausible as possible, because they're actually drawing from the same aquifer that the city of Española is drawing from. So that to me is crazy. I think it's better to have them hooked up into our system and to make it reasonable for them to do so. So those are things that concern me right now, and I'm seriously thinking that it's something that we should all be working on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor, for bringing up that concern. Counselor John Ramon Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to see and inquire with the city manager if we touched base with Hemmons Electric Co-op and the status of the project getting some lighting on North Prince Drive from Fairview Lane down to the Prince Ranch.
All right, we'll make sure to address that during comments from the manager. Do we have any other counselors? Seeing none, I'll just follow up with Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. I appreciate that kind of information, because I think we really do have a lot of constituents that we need to look at, whether it's water issues or easement issues, hookup or streets? Those are a lot of questions that I think we need to really bear down on in the next few months, maybe make that our next year's project, so that we can make clear what rights and responsibilities are held by the city and what rights and responsibilities are held by the citizens. And then maybe where there's some gray areas, we can start to tackle those one at a time. Otherwise, we'll always have the problem. So I think now is a good time to begin addressing those. So thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it. We'll now move
Mayor.
on to,
Mayor,
yes, Mr.
this
Martinez,
is
go ahead.
Counselor Peggy again. I really feel like these are things that are quite fixable if we all put our heads together and invest some time and energy into looking at where we're at and how we want this to be structured and how it better serves our community. So I would look forward and be very excited about attending any kind of a workshop or anything to do with this type of situation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll now move on to Roman numeral 8, matters of from the mayor. We have an appointment for planning commissioner. We received a letter of interest for our current opening that we have from a member of our community. Dr. Sadia Ahmed has been teaching engineering at Northern New Mexico College since 2016, where she chairs the Department of Engineering and Technology. Her training and experience in physics, computer science, and electrical engineering has included work on national security projects, but she's now focused on helping local students to excel. In particular, she invests herself in supporting minority students to succeed in engineering and technology careers while balancing those efforts with building community and preserving local culture, history, and natural resources. Dr. Ahmed came to the attention of the Planning and Land Use Department while working to establish a nonprofit business to support women and their children by promoting sustainable life choices and quality education career paths. Her thoughtful and careful engagement with city processes highlighted her aptitude for serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I feel that she has the background to complement the existing members of the commission, the capacity for serving the citizens of our city, and the passion for enhancing our community. As you may see on the link, Dr. Ahmed completed her Bachelor's of Science degree from Bangladesh University in Engineering and Technology in Dhaka, Bangladesh. She received her PhD in electrical engineering from the University of South Florida, and she has taught physics for several years in Florida as well. She is a member of our community, well respected, and has the credentials certainly to mesh very well with the others on the commission. And seeing as how we've had that opening for just a little bit, I would like to appoint Dr. Sadia Ahmed onto the Planning Commission. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to
Second.
approve.
Thank you very much. We have a motion from Councillor John Ritchie and a second from Councillor Manny Martinez for question or discussion. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, so much. I appreciate that. I do know Dr. Ahmed. Actually, Dr. Ahmed was my son's college professor before he left to New Mexico Tech. Dr. Ahmed has a great reputation and a very solid and strong background. I think this is a very good choice for our Planning Commission, and I think she'll hit the ground running. So I just want to thank you for that, and I'm in full support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I have a comment, Mayor, on discussion.
Yes, Councillor John Ramon Vigil.
Does Dr. Ahmed reside within the city limits or jurisdictional of the Plan and Zoning Department?
I am going to defer to Mr. Hubler. He had, I believe, the answer to that. And if she doesn't, there's still one more position available on the board for somebody who resides outside of the city limits. But yes, she does reside within the city limits.
Okay.
All right, very good. Any other councillor comments or questions? Seeing
Mayor,
none,
this
we
is
have-
Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Yes, Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to ask the same question that Councilor Vigil asked, but that has been answered. I'm just curious, is the board completely filled after this appointment?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. The board is now complete.
Okay, that was my concern. Thank you. And I want to thank her for her willingness to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other further comments or questions, we have a motion from Councillor John Ritchie with a second from Councillor Manny Martinez. Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor of the motion?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Dorothy D.D. Valdez,
In favor?
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides.
In favor of the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. And congratulations to Dr. Ahmed. We'll now move on to matters from the city manager. Matters of particular importance, we'll place them in the order in which they were received. We have a question from Councillor Justin Salazar Torres asking specifically about, in one sentence, Councillor Justin Salazar Torres, if you could.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't catch that.
If you could repeat your question that was directed to city manager.
Okay, sorry about that. Sure, an update on the application with DOT for the OHVs, see where we're at with that.
Honorable
That was
Mayor,
the
members
first
of the governing
question.
body, Councillor Justin Salazar Torres. Right now, I'm in talks with Chief Jimenez to see exactly what the verbiage we want to use on the submittal to this application. Then we will follow up with our attorneys to proceed on that.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. The next question specifically was from Councillor Manny Martinez. If you could, in one sentence, state your question again.
No, sir, it wasn't from me, sir.
My apologies.
Honorable Mayor,
Councillor John.
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, I believe that the request that Councillor Manny Martinez had was for me to report on any new businesses coming into the city. That way that you are aware of any and all new businesses coming into the city. Is that correct, Councillor Martinez?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Yes. Could you please just to let us know what we have coming in and when they do open, sir? Thank you.
Absolutely, Councillor Martinez. With that, I will yield the floor to our Planning and Land Use Director, Mr. Richard Hubler. We'll try him later, governing body. So I'll go ahead and continue with the update. I believe the next question was from Councillor John Ramon Vigil. Is that correct, Mayor? In regards to an update from Hemes Co-op Electric with the status on possibly putting streetlights along North Prince Drive from Fairview all the way down to Prince Ranch. Is that correct, Councillor John Ramon Vigil?
Yes, and then also an update on getting together, working together on a maintenance agreement to get the light poles throughout the town fixed.
Correct. Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body. So right now we are working with Bixby Electric, which is a CES contractor, to get some of the city-owned lights along Paseo de Oñate, or correction, I'm sorry, Riverside, from Upper San Pedro down to the intersection of the Santa Clara Road and Highway 68. So right now we've encumbered close to about $41,000 in regards to get that, and looking at getting the wiring to be overhead to discourage for wire theft. So that's where we're at right now. We've encumbered some of that money right now for, like I say, about $41,000 to repair those lights and to upgrade them to LED. Another section that we're looking at, of course, is along Riverside, along Walmart in that busy intersection where I believe that some of those lights belong to the city, that we've made that determination. Also along Industrial Park Road and Railroad Avenue. So those were the areas there. As of today, I have not received any word from Hemis Electric Co-op in regards to a quote to proceed on North Prince Drive, but we are going to go ahead and proceed and ask Bixby Electric to give us that similar quote to proceed on that same section, Councilor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
All right, Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, to address a little bit on Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez's concern with the water billing and how it is now. Right now, we're currently working with Public Works Department and the Customer Services Department, along with other departments, to renovate or to update the 300 ordinance that deals specifically with utilities. That also mentions about water rights costs and all that stuff. So right now we are actively having weekly meetings on updates for that. So we are looking into that. Mayor, with your permission, I'll proceed with other updates to continue my report. I'd like to give the governing body a little bit of an update on State Road 76. As you all are aware, an email was sent out by our Public Works Director, Mr. Steven Trujillo, a couple of weeks back. There was a significant delay in regards to the communication with our engineers, Wilson and Company, and New Mexico Department of Transportation in requesting a traffic control plan. Right now, we're actively getting updates on a weekly basis. The last update we got was on Friday. We did receive redlined notes from Wilson and Company that they have been actively communicating with NMDOT. So we're on the path moving forward on that. NMDOT has not given us a date in regards to when they might approve our traffic control plan. So that's where we're waiting on right now. I'd like to give an update. If some of you have seen, we have begun clearing the newly purchased property in the south of Lucero Center and Valdez Park of all the trees and shrubs and cleaning that up. And also, if you noticed, along field number 1, which is the baseball field closest to the Lucero Center, the contractor has started pouring some concrete for ADA walkways and for shade structures as well. So progress is moving. I know that it's not as fast as we'd like, but it's definitely, we're actually getting some visuals of progress moving forward. One other thing I want to bring up, I don't know if you have got any calls or concerns in regards to the utility bills that went out last week. As you all know, we signed an agreement to do a trial basis for electronic mailing for the bills. There was quite a little bit of a hiccup in regards to the return envelope with the clear window and the address. We rectified that today. So hopefully come the November bills, it should be a smooth transition. So I ask that if you get calls from your constituents to bear with us. We are transitioning to something that's beneficial to the city and to the employees to be more proficient. Last, I'd like to recognize the new hires and departures from the city employees. We did have one new hire to our wastewater department, Mr. Brian Alvarado. Unfortunately, we've had more separations than new hires. Separations were to include Zeb Everidge, which was a temporary police officer, Mr. Justin Padilla, our code enforcement with planning and land use, and Officer Danny Pacheco, and also Mr. AJ Salazar, who tendered his resignation last week on October 8th, stating that he was pursuing a different career avenue and was no longer interested in working for the city. With that said, I open to any questions or comments that you have in regards to my department report.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. We do have a comment or question from Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. Please go ahead.
First and foremost, I definitely want to wish Mr. AJ Salazar the most success moving forward in his career. We certainly appreciate his professionalism while he served at the city of Espanola and appreciate everything he did for us with integrity. So that being said, the other thing I would want to say is thank you to Mr. Martinez, City Manager Martinez. I did drive by the area that you spoke of on Railroad today, and it already looks like a completely different environment. So I think that we've done a really good thing there, and we're really improving the aesthetics of that environment down there on Railroad Avenue. And I would ask my fellow councilors and the mayor, if you have time, to please take a drive through there, because it's really amazing what a little thing can change the whole area. The concern that I have right now, CM Martinez, deals with the recent trash accumulation in the areas that have the big trash bins for the businesses, specifically to the ones that I am most concerned about are the ones that seem like they're being overfilled, and that would be the one near the Dollar Tree and the one near Walmart and the one near the Dollar General here on the west side. I've repeatedly seen those trash bin areas where the gates are completely open, if there's still gates on them, and there's trash everywhere. I mean, just everywhere, scattered and piled in there outside the bin, which you know is not going to get picked up. If the guy in the truck comes to pick up the trash in a trash truck, he's not going to get down and pay janitor services to the business, and I don't blame him. But my concern is that those are areas that are so visible to anybody visiting our community and anybody stopping to put gas at Murphy's or stopping into the Walmart area. So I have the concern about the visual aesthetics of how it looks to a visitor. I have concern for safety of anybody that might get in there in that trash area. And I do have concerns about homeless people seeming to make one of those little boxed areas a place where they claim and seem to be hanging out a lot in. I would be very interested in proposing some type of an ordinance that would force businesses to keep those areas locked at all times and only be opened by the company picking up the trash, because it seems like there are a lot of people throwing stuff in there, and it's just horrible the way that it looks. I've sent pictures to our city clerk's office, and I've had a lot of concerns from constituents over this. So maybe we could move forward and look at some type of an ordinance.
Absolutely, Councilor Martinez. We will definitely look into that. Definitely keep in the communication with North Central Solid Waste Authority as well on this issue.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, just really one quick, I got a text from our Chief Padilla that, and I apologize, I missed a new fire addition to the fire department, Miss Maggie Hart. So that, in addition to the fire department, I'd like to mention that as well. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. I think Mr. Huber wanted to make a comment about the Councilor Peggy Sue's concerns. Go ahead. All right, we may have to come back to him. Ishmael is on the way out there to see what we can do. But in the meantime, were there any other council comments or questions? Very good. Seeing none, we'll move right on to the selection of the Ethics Board member and alternates. City Manager, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body. As all of you are aware that a few council meetings back, we made a selection of 5 individuals from the names that you submitted to me to be selected at random, literally from a hat, to create the 5 members of the Ethics Board. In that time frame, we recognized that one of the individuals was not able to participate due to his involvement with the city. So before you now, I'm going to go ahead and proceed to backfill that one vacancy to complete the 5 board members as required by Chapter 40 ordinance of the Ethics Board. And also I'd like to mention that to go ahead and proceed and name 3 alternates. That way, if there's something in the near future that happens like this again, we have individuals that have been mentioned to backfill. With that said, I'll go ahead and mention that there's a total of 16 names that had been submitted to me. Out of those 16, I removed 2 because of the 2 individuals that were submitted were by the counselor that the complaint is against. So those were submitted. And the other 4 were removed because they are already selected for the ethics board currently. And I'll go ahead and give you an update. So last time we selected and currently resigning as the ethics board right now is Mr. Chris Roybal, Ms. Carla Martinez, Mr. Ricky Serna, and Ms. Frances Madrid. Those are the 4. With the governing body's consent, I would like to go ahead and make a selection to fill the 5th position tonight and request that I pull 3 additional names to serve as alternates. And as I select them, there'll be alternate number 1, alternate number 2, and alternate number 3. Right now, I have a total of 10 names in the hat. With the governing body's permission, I will read those 10 names that are currently to be selected for the 4 remaining positions. The names that will be entered, that are entered into to be selected for tonight are Mr. Ken Suazo, Ms. Gina Salazar, Mr. Jose Archuleta, Ms. Juliana Barbie, Mr. J.R. Trujillo, Ms. Joanne Salazar, Mr. George Martinez, Mr. Jose Sandoval, Mr. Frank Maestas, and Mr. Dick Bedoin. Those 10 names have been submitted to be random. I will go ahead and proceed unless anybody has any questions before I proceed.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Yes, this is Counselor Peggy Sue. You know, I realize that this is taking a long time and that we're all exhausted with this whole ordeal, and I can only imagine Counselor John Ramon being the one that has to be the most exhausted at this point. You know, to have any charges at all or any allegations at all looming over one's head for so long, it just doesn't seem right or fair to me in any way. The issue that I have is I think, Mr. Martinez, with all due respect, your idea of utilizing alternates is a really great idea, but at the same time, I do have a concern that that's not in the ordinance anywhere. That doesn't ever speak of it doesn't ever speak of alternates in the ordinance, and I'd like to hear from the attorney as to what he feels about that. Thank you.
Good evening.
Go ahead, Mr. Nahum.
Councilor Martinez and members of the governing body. That's a good question. And of course, the ordinance does not say that there should be alternates selected. It also does not prohibit the selection of alternates. And as Councilor Martinez pointed out at the beginning of her comments, we all are starting to get exhausted by how long this process is taking. The idea to select alternates is a one resolution we saw to speed this process up, or at least put it on a track to success where you actually form a board of ethics. If there are concerns with the 5-member board that is appointed by either the complainant or the subject of the complaint, and there is a member of the board that is disqualified for whatever reason, then we have to come back to the council. That only serves to delay the process more. So I agree with the counselor that the ordinance does not say that there should be alternates selected. By the same token, it does not prohibit the practice, and we would recommend that the council does allow for the selection of alternates so that this Board of Ethics can be formed.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate and respect your opinion.
Councilor Denise Benavides, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I also respect the attorney's opinion, but I disagree. I think that if the ordinance being a legal document doesn't state that we can choose alternates, then I don't think that we should go forward and do that. I also believe that we can move the process forward quickly by going ahead and selecting the person that we need to select to complete the committee, and let's just move forward and get it done. I believe city manager has done his due diligence now and found that everyone else that has been selected can serve. There's no contracts through the city. All his due diligence has been done. And I think at this point we can move forward. And I mean, I agree with everyone. It's been exhausting. And I think that, first of all, in my opinion, I don't believe it should have ever happened, but I do believe it needs to move forward and it needs to get done. But I do disagree with the attorney that if it's not in the ordinance being a legal document, that we should abide by that ordinance and go forward. Thank you.
Mr. Nahum, I'll go to you after I go to Councilor Manny Martinez. Councilor Martinez, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. As Councilor Benavides said, that the attorney stated it wasn't in the ordinance, but it also doesn't state in the ordinance. He said that we could not allow alternates. I think the idea of having alternates for this committee or commission is a great idea because he did state that once the process starts, that's the timeline. And I think that it could also affect the timeline if for whatever reason we had to come back and get another committee member or for whatever reason. So I think for that reason alone, it's great that we do allow to get alternates, and that way this process can just move forward and get done with, sir.
Follow up, Mayor. Then amend the ordinance and go forward, because if it's not in the ordinance is a legal document. And the fact that it does not state that we can put alternates in there does not state for a reason. And if we want to add it, then we're going to delay the process again. So
if I may, this was our attorney's suggestion.
Make sure that the discussion here is as legitimate as possible. Councilor Manny Martinez, go ahead for a rebuttal.
I just wanted to state this, this recommendation is coming from our attorney. If he's looked at the ordinance and finds that there's no reason why we cannot have an alternate, then I don't see no reason why we can't move forward with it, sir. We have to trust our attorney that we have, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Nahum, did you want to add anything at this point?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Benavides, for your comments. And you know, when we read a statute, we always read it by incorporating what's called a rule of reason, so that we don't get stuck all the time if a statute doesn't exactly say exactly what issue is before a particular body or before a court. And that rule of reason allows courts to go outside the literal lines or the literal words of a particular statute and add something that perhaps was a good idea, but the legislature just hadn't thought of it at the time. So my response to your point that say that you can appoint alternates, there are principles in the law that allow for a expansive reading and even an additional reading in a statute if the legislature did not include such terms, but it makes sense. It's a rule of reason is what it's called. So that would be my response to those concerns. And as to your concern that the city manager has vetted everyone, and so we won't see any other Board of Ethics members drop off the board, I can already tell you that I potentially see one of the parties to this Board of Ethics proceeding filing a motion to disqualify one of the Board of Ethics members based on we don't know yet, because the parties are going to have an opportunity to bring about concerns that they may have with these board members that have been appointed thus far. So we may very well be in a situation where the board decides that one of its members is too conflicted to serve for whatever reason. And so therefore we would be back either at the council or utilizing one of the alternates should that go forward tonight. Thank you.
We'll go to Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez after I just make this one comment, and that is that we have already legally noticed a meeting for November 10th in which we plan to amend this very ordinance, and it would be an amendment at the discretion of council to decide how and or if that very specific ordinance can or will be amended. So it is already underway. We've already noticed it for the November 10th meeting. So that is already, underway. So Councilor Benavides, I appreciate that, emphasis to change the ordinance, because that's precisely what I think we all need to do so that we do move on from this exhausting situation. And we'll go next to Peggy Sue Martinez.
Mayor, do you think it's smart at this point to divide the question into two different parts? The approval of the fifth member being the first part and the alternates being the second part?
I think that's a very legitimate approach that we can use if we want to create balance so that we can move on and at least create the fifth person that will be solidified, and then we can move on from there. I think that's
okay. So
a
I'll
brilliant-
put that in a motion form to divide the question, please.
Okay, so then we have a motion to appoint, to select the fifth ethics board member, and then that is for the first motion, and we can't carry two motions at the same time. Okay, so your motion is to separate it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do we have a second for that motion?
I'll go ahead and second, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Benavides. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion before we move on?
Not
to the vote?
debatable, sir. Non-debatable motion.
I'm sorry?
A motion for division of a question is a non-debatable motion.
Okay, very good then. We'll take a roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
I just need some clarification. What is the motion again?
The motion is to separate the selection of the ethics board members into one, selection of the fifth member, and two, selection of two alternates.
Three alternates.
My apologies, three alternates.
Okay, that's fine for the motion.
Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez.
In favor of the motion.
Councilor John L. Ritchie.
In favor of the motion.
Councilor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
In favor of the motion.
Councilor Justin Salazar Torres. Councilor John Ramon Vihil.
For the motion.
Councilor Manuel J. Martinez.
For the motion.
Councilor Denise D. Benavides.
For the motion.
Councilor Justin Salazar Torres.
Yes, ma'am, in favor.
Motion carries.
Very good. So now that we have the motion to split the initial decision, we'll now entertain any motions at this time.
I'll go ahead with a motion. Well, I don't think we need a motion. I think we need the city manager to go ahead and pull that fifth name and then call for a motion at that point to approve that member. Correct?
That's fine, I suppose, given that this was also very simply matters from the city manager, so it was not even really on a ratification basis, but we can proceed however the councillor wishes. So I think we'll move on with that selection of the fifth member now.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, so I will go ahead and proceed to select one name to complete the fifth member of the ethics board. I have with me Chief Ron Padilla to assist me. So the name selected to be the fifth member of the ethics board is Mr. Jose Archuleta.
Motion to
Now
approve
we-
that, sir.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Doug says second. So who's the second on that one? Councilor Denise Benavides. So we'll now go to a roll call vote.
Honorable
Mayor
Mayor,
Pro Tem Den-
excuse me, if we can just complete the whole process with the alternates and then vote on that, would that suffice?
No, sir, we've split it into two separate motions now. So we'll do one at one point and then we'll have to do the second one.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
We have. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think that the council does not vote on the appointment of the fifth member. That's
Okay.
something that's something that the city manager does per the ordinance. I understand the council wants to vote on whether or not to choose alternates. And I thought that that's what the motion to divide the question was doing.
I'm fine with that, sir. I have no issue with not voting on the fifth member. Of course, if they didn't get the vote, that would be very awkward. So it's really is a moot point that you're correct. We shouldn't vote on that. But moving on to the next issue, I think we should, to be fair to the people that get chosen and so that nobody has their feelings hurt personally, I think that we should decide on whether or not the alternates are something that this council wants before the names get drawn, because if they draw them and then we vote, it gets very personal and that would be very contentious and it would separate this community more than it already is. And I don't think that's fair or right. So I think it would be best to have the discussion prior to.
Counselor, I agree. I think that we should do the vote before we pick out any names so that we
Okay.
have.
As long as we're on this.
Forward.
Sounds good.
So, Counselor, would you like to entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we vote for the alternates.
Second it.
So we have a motion from Counselor Manny Martinez that we accept 3 alternates with a second from Counselor John Ritchie for purposes. Seeing no discussion, we'll now move on to a roll call vote.
Did you
Mayor
call
Pro
for
Tem
discussion?
Yes, Counselor, I did call for discussion.
Oh,
I didn't catch
it didn't, I didn't hear any of that on my side. I'm sorry, Mayor.
That's okay. So I'll start from the beginning. We had a motion to accept 3 alternates from Counselor Manny Martinez with a second from Counselor John Ritchie for discussion, question, or comments.
Under discussion, Mayor, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that every single person on this council, I'm sure, wants to get this over and done with, as it's loomed over our whole community's head for the past 4 months at least. Probably nobody more than Counselor John Ramon Vigil and his family, as they've been put through anything. The one thing that I will mention is that, you know, at the end of this, what comes is a public censoring if whatever happens, happens. And in my view, what has happened in this situation with the ordinance not being what we needed, with the untimely creation of this whole thing, has just really, really messed up the whole possibility of this thing being fair. And you've admitted it yourself, Mayor. So to me, you know, I do agree that we need to get this over and done with, but at the same time, I don't agree with not following the ordinance. And I understand what the attorney's trying to say, that sometimes we read into things and we do the best that we can with what we have. But at the same time, we as a council have the responsibility to change things when we see that they're not right. And this is one of those situations that it has not been right. And we should be working on this ordinance with everything that we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Do we have any other Counselor comments or questions? because of the feedback issues, I'm going to hang on to that one for just a little bit. Do we have any other counselor comments or questions?
Mayor.
None. We'll now, yes,
Council.
Counselor John Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor. Like everyone else, we're getting tired. We want to get this done. And I think they would all agree the lawyer has stated that there is no legal jeopardy that we're causing by imposing alternates. And I think this will help make sure this process goes fast and fair. And I don't know why anyone would oppose it if we're trying to expedite this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Do you have any other counselor comments or questions? Seeing none, we will go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
I'm for the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
I'll pass. Come back to me, please.
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
Not in favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor. Sorry, my internet's a
Counselor
little bit
John,
delayed.
What was that?
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
Against the motion.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
For the motion?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
Against the motion, as I do believe it could open up the city for some liability with it not being in the ordinance. And I believe that it's high time that we start doing things properly. If we're not going to follow an ordinance, then why do we have one?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
Against the motion.
we have a tie. Mayor Javier E. Sanchez,
I'm going to be quite frank. This is the first time where I'm at a complete loss and for direction. On the one hand, I just want to move forward with this without alternates. That way we just get it over with. On the other hand, alternates are the fastest way to do it. I know that the city attorney has worked very hard to work with what we have and what our best options are. I think this council is very aware that my decision has been to try to keep it as honest as possible. And we, as I've said before, can't do that in this realm. So I think that the best and fastest course, quite frankly, is to be against the motion so that we don't have the alternates. We have the fifth person. We just move forward and change the ordinance when it is appropriate to do so at the November meeting. That is my decision against the motion.
motion fails.
So we do not claim for a third party. I'm sorry, for the three alternates. And we have selected our fifth, and we will now move on to business with visitors.
Mr. Jackson, are you available, sir?
Yes, I am.
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, do you have the presentation that I provided, or do you all need for me to share my screen, or? Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Jackson. I'm a Director of Sales and Business Development for First Billing and our parent company, Paya. If we can go to the next slide, we appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight to present to you what we are offering the city of Espanola as far as an electronic payments platform, along with an explanation of our pricing as well. So first billing at a glance, I really want to get through this first part of the presentation so we can get right to the current scenario and the pricing that we offer. But first billing, we're a leading provider of a cloud-based electronic bill presentment and payment platform. We really take a holistic approach to payments by trying to consolidate providers across the client's ecosystems. We were acquired by Paya in 2019. We work with over 800 municipal accounts and utility clients throughout the United States. We were first to come to market with customer service live agent call centers. So we do have 4 live agent call centers throughout the United States, and we truly believe that customer service is our business. Next slide, please. So regarding our parent company, Paya, Paya is a leading provider of integrated payments and frictionless commerce solutions. They are a top 20 payments technology company in the United States, processing over 30 billion in annual payments volume. They are actually, well, we are actually the number 6 card not present payments provider in the country. It says number 8 there, but we are actually number 6 now. Again, we work with over 100,000 customers, and we're focused on targeted high growth verticals, including healthcare, education, nonprofit, B2B, and government and utilities. You can see there that we have over 300 plus software platform integrations, and we are a PCI level 1 service provider. We have offices in Reston, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, Dayton, Ohio, Mount Vernon, Ohio, and Fort Walton Beach, Florida, with over 300 employees. And, you know, we really deliver across all mediums, focusing on API first delivery, payments, reporting and solutions, proprietary payments technology, credit card, check, ACH, gift and loyalty. And we have full service in-house operations, including risk management, underwriting, and onboarding with 24/7 support. Next slide. Our focus really is on helping you deal with operational pain points, which some have been identified in my communication with Mr. Martinez and Ms. Ortiz, the finance director. So obviously we want to help you to focus more on your core services by, you know, reducing customer service calls and walk-ins, increasing electronic payments adoption, eliminating payment exception handling. Very important to increase electronic billing adoption, helping you all reduce delinquents and days outstanding, and then really eliminating manual processes as well. Next slide. So we're a believer that proven payments technology drives adoption, and that increases value. So you can see some examples below of clients that we currently work with. When we go live with them, Evansville Water and Sewer Utility in Indiana, they were at a 10% adoption rate as far as payments. We helped them increase that to 42%. And you see some others there increasing from 5 to 40%, 8 to 34%, 12 to 39%, and 3 to 21%. So really the key client benefits or benefits to you all would be lower billing and payment costs, fewer delinquent accounts, fewer shutoffs, reducing customer service calls, higher customer satisfaction, and higher process automation. Next slide. These are some of our sample customers. We did recently contract with Rio Rancho New Mexico through a partnership that we have with a company called Central Square Technologies. So excuse me, that contract was signed last month. So we're very excited about that. Next slide. One of the main reasons that we started having discussions about Express Bill Pay, which is your current payments technology company, along with JP Morgan Chase, is they had system outages during COVID-19. So we had no system outages whatsoever. We really invested heavily in 2019 to ensure that all our call center personnel could work from home. We did close our offices, moved all IT staff to work from home using our vast IT resources to ensure that we were 100% operational. We leveraged all of our call centers to augment municipality customer service. And then we helped our clients develop communication plans to encourage citizens to use digital payments using our communication platform. Next slide. We've kind of developed a slogan at First Billing called Progress with FBS. We believe that adapting your customer experience strategy during and after these uncertain times, increasing your online bill pay options, pushing out communication via text, email, and social media, integrating solutions will allow your municipality to satisfy your citizens' expectations for excellent customer service. We provided in-office kiosks to allow customers to securely use cash, credit, debit, and e-checks. And then again, our live agent call centers, which we have 4, provided customer service reps to answer questions 24/7. Some stats to the right, 6 in 10 bills are paid online automatically. 15% of payments, your payments will increase 15% on average when your citizens have the ability to make a payment via a live agent. Next slide. And this just speaks to our fully integrated cloud-based electronic bill presentment and payment platform. First Agent is a platform that your city staff, especially on the utility side, would use to view real-time payments, process payments, manage customer billing, review customer care information. First Choice is our consumer-facing portal, which we have just come out with a new user interface, user experience. First Integration, we have integrations with many ERP and CIS systems. And then First Communication is our platform where we're able to push out communication via many methods, such as text, email, and IVR. Next slide. We really believe, again, in proactive communication will enhance customer engagement. So again, via email, text message, live customer service, and our First Choice platform, we can push out e-billing notifications, payment confirmations, late notices, disconnect notices, service outages, policy updates and violations, legal notifications, and any marketing campaigns that the city may need help with, for example, to increase electronic payments adoption. Next slide. This is the full suite of services that we offer, pretty self-explanatory. Not all municipalities use every payment channel that we offer. Everything that we do is completely rules-based driven. We like to say that if you define the rules, we will make sure that the rules are enforced during the implementation process. Next slide. This is a little information about our implementation timeframe. Typically takes, I would say, about 60 days, where we have a kickoff call. During that time, you'll be assigned a dedicated account manager to work with you during the implementation and post-implementation. We confirm the requirements. We do system testing. We roll the program out going live. And then after implementation, again, you have that dedicated account manager to help you with any issues, problems that may come up. Don't run into that very often, but you know at least that you have someone that's dedicated to your municipality once you have started as far as a go live status with us. Next slide. This is some detail about the new user interface that we have just rolled out. We're very excited about it. You know, it has a great look and feel. You know, we really look to brand payments pages to give it the same look and feel of the municipality, something that you currently do not have with Express Bill, because it's a complete redirect away from your site to Express Bill Pay with no branding whatsoever. This is just letting you know that you have the option to make a payment, just putting in your account number. We like to call this guest pay because you're actually not logging in to have your account validated. We do validate that the account number is legitimate in a guest pay scenario. But at the same time, if you have not created an account, we try to prompt you to create an account. And then if you have created an account and have an existing account, you can just log in to make a payment as well. So we have a guest pay feature, and we have the full registered process where you create an account and then you log in every time you want to make a payment. Okay, next slide. So there you see, you know, whether it's a guest pay or you've logged in, you come to this page where it gives you your statement date, the amount due, the due date, payment methods that you have stored on file. Off to the right where you see Western Union, that is a space that can be designated for any kind of communication that you want to push out to your customer base. And then below, you know, is a form of engagement where we are showing you details such as your usage for your utility bill. And then to the right, you're able to view your payment history, view statements, update payments, set up auto pay, sign up for e-billing, and sign up for text to pay as well. Next slide. And this is just a continuation showing the payment entry process, and you get to a page where it's thanking you for your payment after the payment has been made. Next slide. Okay, so this is where I wanted to spend the majority of my time. So right now I am personally engaged with a number of cities in New Mexico, like Jal, Deming, Los Lunas. I have a meeting tomorrow with Belen. I've met with Silver City, Moriarty, Socorro, New Mexico. And again, we just contracted with Rio Rancho. I am also speaking with a number of cities in Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Ohio that are all Express Bill Pay clients. Okay. Again, this started out with the system outages that they were having during COVID-19. It expanded throughout the conversations that I was having. It expanded with Discovery that shed light on how Express Bill Pay charges their clients. Okay, so they have a separate set of fees that they charge their clients on top of the merchant processing that is being run through Chase Payment Tech or JP Morgan Chase. Okay, so you see the different set of fees there. On average, based on the invoices that I was provided with, you all are being invoiced roughly $740.18 every month times 12. So that's close to $9,000 in fees that Express Bill Pay is charging. Okay. Then when you go to the next slide, you also have fees that you're being charged from the payment processor, which is Chase Payment Tech or JP Morgan Chase. Okay. Right now, you all are on an absorbed model. Okay. And you're paying interchange. And let me explain what interchange is. Interchange, they are the actual rates that the card brands charge for a variety of credit card types that are out there. It could be a personal debit card from a bank with assets of $10 billion or more. It could be a rewards card. It could be a corporate card. It could be a purchasing card. It could be an international card. It could be a number of different card types from Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. Okay, so they have their interchange rate, okay, plus what's called dues, fees, and assessments. Okay, so that is something that goes directly to the issuing bank and the card brands. Okay, any payment processor is going to have what's called a markup. So Chase Payment Tech is charging 17 basis points and 17 cents a transaction. Okay. You see there that your average monthly processing volume, and this was calculated from the April, July, and September 2020 merchant statements. That gave kind of a true picture of what the overall average would be for the city of Espanola. So you take that and divide it by 12, and you come to that figure, 1.4, a little over 1.4 million a year in processing volume. The average monthly transaction volume was about 935 payments a month. Times that by 12, and you see a little over 11,000 transactions a year. The average monthly bill was about $123. So if you look at the average monthly fees that are due Chase, JP Morgan, it's about $1,632 times 12. So roughly close to about $20,000 a year. Okay. So you take the fees that Express Bill Pay is charging and the fee that JP Morgan Chase is charging, and you come to roughly a little over $28,000 a year that you're being charged. Okay. Next slide. So our proposed pricing is factoring in eliminating really the majority of all the fees that Express Bill Pay is charging. Okay, we do have to charge for electronic check processing. So we're charging interchange plus 20 basis points and 20 cents a transaction. And then for e-check processing, we're charging 25 cents. So for e-check processing, Express Bill Pay was charging 44 cents a transaction. For credit debit card web transaction, they were charging 34 cents a transaction. So you have to combine the fees from Express Bill Pay and Chase Payment Tech. And you see there with what we are charging, it's roughly $21,678.36. Okay. Next slide will show the savings if you all want to stay on an absorbed model. Okay. So we're consolidating providers. There won't be any need to use two different companies for your payment processing because First Billing is the payments technology company and Paya is the payment processor. Okay, so it's all in-house. So if you all stay on the absorbed model, which you currently are on right now, you'll save close to about $7,000 a year. Okay, next slide. So I also have spent some time talking to Mr. Martinez and Ms. Ortiz about a convenience fee model. You see, many municipalities have moved to this model because they do not want to incur the cost of processing the citizens' payment anymore. So you're seeing more and more municipalities take this route. Okay. So based on the average bill of 123, and then considering some of the larger payments that I've seen on the merchant statements, we kind of went back and forth with what the convenience fee should be. Mr. Martinez and Ms. Ortiz expressed that they did not want a maximum payment. Typically, what you'll find is you'll have a convenience fee, but a maximum payment will be set. Typically, it's around $300 to $400. Okay, so if someone paying a $600 bill made a payment online with a debit or credit card, they essentially would have to make two payments, one for say $300 and then another for $300. So they would incur two fees. So, I was very aggressive with the pricing and, we just decided to eliminate the maximum payment. So if someone wanted to make a payment for $1,000, $5,000, the fee is still going to be $2.75. Now, keep in mind that we are going to lose money, meaning first billing. We are going to lose money on the very large transactions, but because based on my analysis, the average bill is about $123, it will, balance out. Okay. If customers want to make a payment via electronic check, we would charge $1 per payment up to a $25,000 maximum. Okay, next slide. So the total savings moving to the convenience fee model would be everything that Express Bill Pay and JP Morgan Chase is charging you, which is roughly a little over $28,000 a year. Okay, that would be the savings to the city of Espanola if you went to the convenience fee model. Okay, next slide. So we often are asked to come up with a pricing model that is still charges a convenience fee, but takes some of the load off of the citizen so they don't have to absorb the full amount of the convenience fee. So we call this a hybrid pricing model. So the fees are paid by both the citizen and the city of Espanola. So for example, the citizen would be charged a $2 per payment convenience fee with no maximum payment. ACH and e-checks would be the same at $1 per payment, but then we would invoice the city of Espanola 75 cents per payment monthly. Okay. And even on this hybrid model, if you go to the next slide, you still see that there's a savings of over $20,000 a year using this hybrid model. So to summarize, if you stayed with the absorb model, the savings to the city of Espanola would be close to $7,000. If you went with the full convenience fee model, the total savings would be over $28,000. And if you use the hybrid model, your savings still would be over $20,000 a year. So now I want to focus on the indirect savings that we're bringing to the city of Espanola. So again, going back to the number of calls that I've had with finance directors, city managers from many different states throughout the country that work with Express Bill Pay. And each time I had a conversation, I was finding out that they had more complaints about Express Bill Pay. So when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. So I found out that Express Bill Pay charges a $25,000 reserve requirement where those funds are held in an Express Bill Pay account. I don't understand that. I don't understand why that's necessary. To me, that's leverage. I guess if you're not paying your invoice, something like that, they have this money on file as leverage. So that's one thing that I've heard. I've also heard that finance directors, county treasurers, city treasurers, they actually have to request their funds from Express Bill Pay. So that's another red flag. Okay. And when you have to request funds from Express Bill Pay, that creates funding delays. Okay. And then we also talked about the excessive additional fees that they charge, the fact that we have not had any system outages during COVID-19. Express Bill Pay has. Okay. Another important feature that we have is, again, when you click to make a payment, you're completely redirected away from your municipality website to Express Bill Pay to make a payment. Sometimes that can create lack of trust in the payment process. Okay. Now, we talked about Express Bill Pay's funding delays. Okay. We provide next day funding. Okay. It's an automatic process. You don't have to call. You don't have to request funds. It's an automated process. You receive your money the next day to your designated bank account. Okay. And then again, I mentioned the dedicated account management during and after implementation. And then we have a very experienced executive and sales leadership team at FBS and Paya. Myself, I have over 28 years of financial services and fintech industry experience, working with some of the major players in the payment space. We also Paya just acquired another company in the payment space called the Payments Group out of Dallas, Texas. So that adds another 600 clients in the municipality space. And Paya is soon to be a publicly traded company before the end of this year with a valuation of about $1.3 billion. So, we have more than enough firepower to, provide the payments technology that any municipality would want. So that is my presentation. Any questions that you all have?
Under comment, Mayor?
Yes, Councilor, is that John Ramon Vigil?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Greg, thank you for the great presentation. One of the big things for me is you talked a little bit about it, but user interface support, and mainly I want to make it where our staff have easy accessibility to a trained professional to walk them through when issues do occur, and that they're accessible. Can you touch about that, about training more and what you guys will do for the city employees?
So during the implementation process, all city staff will be trained on, solutions like First Agent, because that would be what the city staff and the utility side would be using if customers call in, have questions about their bill. Maybe they didn't receive their bill. Utility staff could email them a copy of their bill. If they're in the office, they could print it out for them. They can provide, copies of payment receipts. So there will be training on all of our solutions that you all decide to implement. The training will continue until you all are comfortable, utilizing, each of the payment channels that we offer, whether it be First Agent, whether it be First Communication. So all of that will be taken care of during the implementation process, which I said roughly lasts about 60 days. Now, after the implementation process, again, you have that dedicated account manager that if you ever have any problems or issues, you contact them and you contact me as well. And, we'll stay up on top of, any issues or problems that come up. Don't expect any major issues, but, at least you have someone dedicated to help you in time of need. Also, the live agent call centers that I mentioned, if your utility staff is overwhelmed, they need to focus on their core responsibilities, we can have our live agent call centers handle all of your payments from your customers. if that is something that you desire. We have many municipalities that have just, offloaded that responsibility to us, so their staff can focus on, other responsibilities. So, but that is something, again, that is completely rules-based. You decide if that's something that you want to do. If so, that will be during the implementation processes.
We have a question from Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez, and then we'll go to Councillor John Ritchie. Councillor Peggy Sue
Thank you.
Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Greg. I also want to say thank you for the incredible, first of all, presentation that was provided to our packet, and the presentation that you just did now, and the explanation of savings possibilities for the city of Espanola and the constituency. So the way I'm reading it is that $2.75 debit or credit card, $1 e-check, and the possibility of the city covering 75 cents of that. If
That
they
was a suggestion.
right, if they so decide.
Yes.
My question is sort of deals with one, the severity of what's happening with COVID and how it has affected so many people and their bills.
Yes.
Their livelihood. And I'm wondering if if there's possibility during a pandemic like this, that if we need to switch things up, we can do that. Like we could say, okay, the city's going to decide to help people with their bill pay by going ahead and paying half of that, or going ahead and not having a bill pay, so that people can just encumbering the cost, so people can go ahead and utilize that system.
Right.
Do you understand what I mean? I'm wondering if it's changeable.
Yes, we can change pricing models at any time. It's just, something that you would reach out to your dedicated account manager on, and know that, that you want to change from, say, a convenience fee model to a hybrid model, or you just want to go to the absorb model until a certain time frame. And then you all would just, keep in communication with us to let us know, when you might want to, make a change back to the original model.
Absolutely. Okay, second question. Where are your call centers at?
We have one in Dayton, one in Mount Vernon, Ohio, one in Reston, Virginia, and one in Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Have you ever considered the Southwest and building a billing center in this state?
That's a good question. I would have to bring that to corporate leadership and find out, what their opinion is on that. But I can't take that up with corporate leadership.
No pressure. I'm just curious about the call center. Thank you.
We'll go next to Councillor John Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you, Greg, for your presentation. Question I have with the savings that you're giving us as an example, what services are we not getting that you offer?
Well, right now, apparently Express Bill Pay only offers web payments. I'm not sure. I believe they offer an IVR solution where you can call a 1-800 number to make a payment as well. And then I assume that if a customer called into the utility office, you all would be able to process a payment by logging into, say, what's called a virtual terminal within Express Bill Pay. So we can offer you as many payment channels that you may want. That is completely up to you all to decide how many payment channels you may need, whether it's a web, IVR, whether it's text to pay. Again, that is completely rules-based driven. So
I understand. So the savings is basically providing the same service that we get. So you do give us a savings if we stay status quo. Is that
Yeah.
what I'm getting?
Yes, so the savings that we're providing is purely based on pricing. Like, again, like Express Bill Pay charges 95 cents a transaction for a toll-free IVR transaction, okay? Then again, you have the fees from JP Morgan Chase. So we don't charge an additional fee to make a payment via IVR. So we're giving you the same service and even more if that is a requirement of yours, but we're not charging, the same fees that you're incurring right now.
Okay, so clarifying, what are we gonna get for the savings you're showing us? What are we getting anything above and beyond our current provider? What are we gonna get above and beyond? And I know there's a lot more, but what are we getting just at the rate that you're giving us examples of? What are we getting more of or offering more to our customers
Well,
at the same price?
right. You're offering them, it could be additional payment channels. It could be better customer service, a better web user interface to be able to make a payment. Like I mentioned, the complete redirect with Express Bill Pay. With us, we're going to brand the payments pages to give it the same look and feel as the municipality, your city.
So we get that page. We're going to get that page without additional fees to
Exactly.
us?
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to know what we're getting more of for the price at the savings. I know we can add more stuff, but I want to know what we're going to get more of at the savings price.
Yeah, again, better customer service, a better user interface for your citizens to use to make payments. You're going to get, for the city, it's going to be, like I said, dedicated account management. It's just, it's definitely more.
Well, I understand. I just want to know specific that we're getting so that we can truly make that choice and understand what benefit you're bringing to us.
Well, again, that's really the indirect savings that we're offering outside of the savings. Everything can't be seen in dollars and cents. So, your citizens, better technology, better user interface, better customer service, okay, more payment channels if you all decide to use additional payment channels, okay. The indirect savings, again, is we don't require a $25,000 reserve requirement. You don't have to request funds. We provide next day funding to the city. So you close your transaction.
That's definitely positive.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor. We'll now go to Mr. Richard Huber, who has a couple comments with regard to this specific piece of software. Mr. Huber, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Excellent. Thanks, Ishmael. So a lot of this sounds really great. And one of the things I wanted to mention, and I'll leave the kind of detailed financial stuff and how this compares to Express and whether Express Bill Pay could offer some of these options to ASD Director Ortiz or City Manager Martinez. But City Manager Martinez and Mr. Jackson and I had a phone call earlier this morning because one of the things that immediately popped in my mind is that the city is in the process of transitioning to software that's going to help on the asset management side of Public Works, as well as on the planning, permitting, vendor permits, business registration, et cetera, side of planning. and that's called iWork. It was written about briefly in the paper a few weeks ago. And iWork integrates with Express Bill Pay. It does not currently integrate with FirstPay. It's my understanding from Mr. Jackson that he and the CEO of iWork had a conversation that has not yet produced any results. So my mention this evening is simply to indicate that as we have already been pushing towards increasing our kind of COVID response through online payments, through kiosks in our lobby, both in the planning side and the main lobby side, and that as these will impact not only people's ability to buy vendor permits online or pay all their planning permits, but also to set up new water accounts online or at the kiosk, that's kind of a critical thing that's not currently captured in our Express Bill Pay components, or not well captured, I should say. So while there may be the capacity to integrate that software with FirstPay, it's not yet a given. So my recommendation would simply be that that we continue to work with Mr. Jackson with the iWork software, because this is a major game changer to the services we were able to offer the citizens of the city, and that the governing body not take action on terminating any contracts this evening, and give us a little bit more time to kind of work through these issues and come back and report on that. So that's my only comments this evening, is just that a switch tonight from Express Bill Pay to first billing would kind of basically kneecap that process and lose a good third of the functionality that we're expecting to get from that integration. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to comment as well. So I did have a with the CEO of the software company, and the conversation didn't go well because I assume that Express Bill Pay has some form of revenue share with this software company, meaning that the software company would make money off of the processing of payments for permits and things of that nature. So he kept making comments like, well, what are you going to do for me? And how is this going to benefit me? And, what clients are you going to bring to me? So he's very aggressive during the conversation. He stated that, an integration would cost, $10,000. Who's going to pay for that? I mean, like I said, we're integrated with over 300 software companies. Okay. So we have kind of gone through this many times where some software companies, they want to hear it from.
I apologize for the interruption. I wanted, for the sake of clarity, with whom did you have this conversation again? And was that today?
It was, I believe, last week with the CEO of what is the company called again?
iWork Systems, the provider for the new software the city's adopted.
Yes, so I reached out to them to find out what we would have to do to either have a direct integration with them, or maybe just exchanging daily files, just to fill them out to find out if they really wanted to play ball with us, let's say. And the CEO made additional comments that they bought a payment processing company in the past, and were going to do all their payment processing in-house with their own company, but that didn't go well, and they sold it off. So apparently the only direct integrations that they have right now are with Express Bill Pay and another company called PayRock. PayRock is a smaller play in the industry for payments, really focusing more on the retail side of the business. So they're not a major player in the card not present, payments business. So we are, integrated with, existing companies that you work with, like Cassell, Vertex, WaterSmart, and Seamless Stocks. So that's 3 companies that you all work with that we're already integrated with. This company, iWorks, is the only one that, just really didn't seem to want to have a real conversation about what it would take to integrate. So oftentimes what you see in this situation is a call would have to come from the city. But I don't know. Let me say this also. There are many municipalities that we work with where certain departments have their own software providers, okay? Many departments have their own payment processing company that they work with. So even though we take a holistic approach to payments, wanting to handle all of the payments throughout the various departments that you have within the city, sometimes it's not possible because some departments want to make their own decisions, and that it just happens that way. So, as much as we want to handle all the payments for every department within a city, sometimes it just doesn't happen. So, we're more than willing to work with this particular software company, but we would need the company to, want to work with us as well. And sometimes a call from the city may prompt them to, be more agreeable to working with us.
And Mr. Mayor, I figure just comment on that. The city and certainly my office is very willing to reach out to iWork to see about that. We just did not have an opportunity from between this morning's phone call with Mr. Jackson and this meeting tonight.
I have a question for City Manager. Do you know whether or not Express Bill Pay offers the opportunity to pass the fees on to customers?
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, I believe so, but I'll go ahead and yield the floor to our finance director, Ms. Jessica Ortiz. But I believe that Express Bill Pay might offer that as well, to be able to absorb or to pass the convenience fees to the customer.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. I have put a call into Express Bill Pay. We have been playing phone tag, but I did express my concerns. And so I need to get back in touch with them and see what they can offer us. But I'm more than likely sure that they can work with us to pass on these fees.
My God.
You have a question for Denise Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of questions for Mr. Jackson. Thank you so much for the presentation, sir. The first question is that I do currently use Express Bill Pay. It's pretty seamless. Where would your software be housed? Would it be on our website so that clients have 24/7 access to be able to pay their payments? That's my first question. My second question is, can the payment be set up as recurring? Because currently mine is recurring and it just happens seamlessly every single month. So that's my second question for you.
Okay, yes, it would be 24/7 accessibility for customers to make a payment 24 hours a day via the web, via an IVR system.
So it's strictly web-based.
No, it's not strictly web-based.
Okay, that's a question. Okay, so it's not. And then the other question that I have for you as well is that those clients that are already currently on Express Bill Pay, would you convert those clients over, or would they simply have to go onto your website and re-register?
Yeah, that is a good question. I reached out to our product team today to find out if we have the ability to take in some sort of file that has the information as far as registration details and ingest that file where they would be able to use the same registration information that they're using for.
Okay, so I think that if Director Hoopler is going to make a phone call, that's probably another good question, maybe to consider asking, or Jessica, Director of Finance, to ask Express Bill Pay if they would even allow that, or if they have someone that we could work with if we so chose to move to this software, because I think that's an important one. It needs to be seamless for our client, because we have a lot of seniors that I think would take advantage, but, or already using Express Bill Pay, but may not know how to reset up the service. So that would be something that, I would like follow up on. Thank you.
Have a follow-up question from Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. Please go ahead. Counselor Peggy Sue, can you unmute? Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, are you still with us? Okay, we don't have anything from Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Mayor, this is
Yes,
Counselor
Ricci, go ahead.
We've got a lot of questions up in the air here. Can we table this till our next meeting and give us so that we can get more questions answered?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I agree that there are a lot of questions. Technically, I think we are still under business with visitors. We can quickly move into Roman numeral 11, which does offer the consideration of the termination of express bill pay and approval. So in that sense, it can either be tabled as the counselor prefers, or we could just not take action.
Thank you.
So what is the preference of the counselor if we don't have any further questions?
Let's actually go to the topic, and we can decide then of if we want to. I think it's important that we address this issue because there is savings and convenience available for our customers. So we need to address this. So I think we bring it up and open it up and then table it for after all the questions are answered.
Okay, so we are now under Roman numeral 11, items proposed for council consideration, discussion, and action. Under letter F, we have the consideration of termination of express bill pay and approval of first billing agreement. Counselor, is your motion to table letter F to the November 10th meeting?
Yes, Mayor, I motion to table the termination of express bill pay till, I would say, 30 days, the first meeting of November.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a
I
second?
second.
Is that Counselor Denise Benavides?
Counselor Valdez.
Counselor Valdez, good to hear from you. Excellent. So we have a motion from Counselor John Ritchie to table the consideration of termination of express bill pay and approval of first billing agreement to the November 10th meeting, with a second from Counselor Valdez. Is there discussion?
Leon, the table requires no debate, Mayor.
Okay, very good. So we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor of the motion?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor John Ramon Villa,
In favor of the motion?
Counselor Emmanuel J. Martinez,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll now go on to Roman numeral 11, letter G, resolution 2020-35, resolution I'm sorry. Before we move on, I just wanted to give my thanks to Mr. Jackson for coming and presenting today. I think it was an amazing presentation with a tremendous amount of information, and I'm sorry that we didn't have the ability to answer all of our questions. But Mr. Jackson, thank you so much, and I know that we're going to be in contact very soon to get a lot of those questions answered, and we can move forward from there. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll now go on to Resolution 2020-35, resolution acceptance of City of Espanola Asset Plan presented by Grants Manager, Ms. Diane Hawkes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body. I'm here this evening presenting this proposed policy change, or excuse me, implementation, if you will. Before you have an asset management policy that our asset management team basically built from scratch. Also, as part of your packet material is our just about finalized first phase of our asset management plan. You'll see some red lines through it. Those are just minor corrections, graphical, if you will. Other than that, we don't have any other feedback. So our engineers that are working with us, Sauter Miller, they would make the changes and bind it in final, and then that would wrap up the first phase of our asset management plan. We're moving into our second phase, which is basically a compilation of our assets and getting them in a spreadsheet form so that we could proceed on to the third phase of the asset management process. Part of this, number one, it's critical that we have this in place so that we can apply for different types of state funding, as this is a requirement. I also feel very strongly about this because I feel this is a step in the right direction in order for the city to be more proactive when it comes to their assets. With an asset management plan in place, we will be monitoring the status or the state, if you will, the physical condition of our assets, whether it's our water lines, our wastewater lines, things of that nature. And we will be in a better position to be operating efficiently and effectively and proactively versus reactively when our infrastructures or any of our other assets may fail. With that, I stand for any questions.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second the motion.
We have a motion from Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Councilor Dennis Tim Salazar for questions or comments.
Under discussion, Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Excuse me. I'm very interested in this life cycle cost assessment. I really feel like that's one of the things that the city of Espanola hasn't done in the past with changing out pipes before they become non-working. I really feel like if we start being proactive, like Ms. Hawkins stated, instead of reactive, we can save a lot of misery for people and plan when their water is going to be off and things like that, and be more cost effective with replacing pipes before they cost us more and what they're worth. So I really feel like this is very important, and I appreciate all the hard work that has gone into this by the city manager and the staff. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. I can't see anything. If you can stop sharing, maybe help me. Oh, yes, Councilor Denise Benavides, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I just want to say, Diana, I love it. It's been a long time coming. I look forward to the spreadsheet, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mayor, I have a question.
Councilor John Ritchie, go ahead.
Ms. Hawkins, again, great job and well overdue. What other departments that would benefit from this asset management when it comes to utilities?
Councilor Ritchie, Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body. As of right now, this whole asset management process, it involves utilities, it involves finance, it involves water, wastewater, planning and land use, pretty much just about everybody. But those key departments right there were the main players of our asset management team at this point.
But, and I understand the departments involved, but what our assets right now is our water lines, our sewer lines. What, is there any other assets out there that we could put under this program?
We're actually looking at all of them, sir. Buildings, fleet, vehicles, things of that nature. Any
So
type
all-
of asset.
Right. Okay. So, but again, the initial is just the with Sauter Miller of helping us develop this is strictly the pipelines, be it water and sewer.
Correct. At this point,
And
yes.
then we're gonna add in all the other departments out there. What's our time frame for the rest of the departments?
I would say probably at least another year. The entire asset management process takes about 3 years, if not a little bit longer.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councillor John Ramon Vihil.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank you, Diane, for working on this. Going a little bit on Councilor Ritchie's comments, I think it's really important that we focus on our fleet management policy. Looking at depreciation, I see we've constantly looked at it, replacing things in the fleet, and a lot of these problems that have come up right now, I think they were having an issue with the Vactor, or they paid off the Vactor. I can't remember. We had to do a large purchase just a couple months ago, and it wasn't budgeted, and it was only because of the consistent maintenance problems. But I really think it's a priority we get in place a fleet management system, and we start doing a depreciation schedule, and we can get some of this aging fleet out of our inventory and get some new vehicles for our much needed vehicles for the staff. So thank you, Diane, for working on this. I hope we can cut that timeline of a year. And I know you and Jeff working on that, along with Jessica, will get working on a fleet management policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other councillor comments or questions? Excellent. Seeing none, we'll move on. We have a motion on the floor, and you'll have to forgive my old age and forgetfulness. That was from Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez, I believe, with a second from Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Very good. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides.
For the motion.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez.
For the motion?
Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
For the motion?
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres.
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
In favor of the motion.
Counselor John L. Ritchie.
For the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez.
In favor of the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move swiftly on to Resolution 2020-36, a resolution of acceptance of Firehouse Subs Grant in the amount of $20,875, presented by Grants Manager Ms. Diane Hawkes.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body. I'm here this evening respectfully requesting approval of Resolution 2020-36, and that is acceptance of a Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation Equipment Grant that we received just recently in the amount of $20,875. This grant is a little bit different in that when we applied for it, you have to specify exactly what equipment or what it is you are requesting, and you have to provide quotes. This particular request was to purchase 25 Scott cylinders that will replace cylinders that are about to be outdated. So with that, I seek approval so that I can notify Firehouse Subs, because they in turn procure the goods for us and just basically send us the equipment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have multiple motions for approval. I think I caught one from Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez with a second from Counselor John Ritchie. Does that sound accurate?
Close enough.
Very good. Do we have any questions or comments?
Under questions and comments, Mayor, I just want to congratulate Chief Padilla and the staff, Diane Hawkes, and all of those involved in the pricing, getting the prices and everything prepared to send out for this grant, and realize that any money that we get like this saves money for the constituency. So we certainly appreciate Firehouse Subs, and I will be eating there someday soon. Thank you, sir.
We'll first go to Fire Chief Padilla, and then we'll go to Counselor Manny Martinez.
Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body, I'd just like to say, I'd like to thank Diane. It was, I just kind of put some things together, but she finished it all up and made it all happen. And she actually told me that it was the first grant we didn't hit. We hit a couple of days before deadline. So it was all about her putting all the wording together. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Chief. It was a great team effort. I will say that.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Counselor Manny Martinez. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Ms. Hawkes and Chief Padilla and everybody that worked on this. This just shows what, we work together. Look what can be accomplished. And you guys are doing such a great job getting these grants. And this is how we're going to continue to get things done that we need to get done in the city. So thank you again, Ms. Hawkes, for working diligently to get this grant taken care of. And Chief, thank you again so much. And let's continue getting those grants coming our way. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
for all
you.
your hard work.
Seeing no other raised hands, we'll go on to a vote for Resolution 2020-36. We had a motion from Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar. Take a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
For the motion.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
For the motion?
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
For the motion.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
Absolutely in favor.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor of the motion?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor of the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll now go on to Bar Resolution 2020-37, approval of a budget adjustment request to Department of Finance to decrease revenues, expenditures for various funds. We have the presentation by Administrative Services Director, Ms. Jessica Ortiz.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the governing body. I come tonight to respectfully request approval of Resolution 2020-37, increasing the revenues and expenditures budget in Fund 209, which is our Fire Protection Fund, in the amount of $4,752. This is for an insurance claim that we received, and it is to fix one of our vehicles. The second request is for the 124 fund in the amount of $14,693. This too is for an insurance recovery claim for the streets, for the lights on the streets. And lastly, requesting a budget increase in revenues and expenditures of $73,000 for the land acquisition. I know we are still waiting on the customer or the one that is interested in selling us the property for, I believe it is 306 North Railroad Avenue. And he is currently seeking another appraisal on his property. However, I thought it would be best to go ahead and submit budget authority. It won't harm us if we don't go forth with it, but it will save us time in the long run. And so with that, I request approval of Resolution 2020-37.
So moved to approve.
Second.
Thank you for the presentation. We have a motion on the floor from Councilor Manny Martinez with a second from Councilor John Ritchie. Is there any discussion or questions, really? Very good. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor of the motion?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
For the motion.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor of the motion.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides.
In favor.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll now go on to letter J, Resolution 2020-38, resolution to approve right-of-way vacation dedication Planning and Zoning Commission case number 2020-10, North Central Regional Transit District. Applicant is requesting the vacation of city-owned right-of-way, I'm sorry, the vacation of city-owned right-of-way in exchange for the dedication of new right-of-way and the renaming of Silky Way as Blue Bus Way on property addressed as 600 Silky Way, UPC 1-047-121-309-364 and 1-047-121-340-300, presented by Planning and Land Use Director, Mr. Richard Hubler.
Good evening once again, Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body. Can you hear me this time? Thank you very much. So as you'll see in the attached packet material, this information is related, or this request rather, is for basically a road swap. There's some very technical language and details involved in this, pursuant to state statute, as well as our code, hence the term vacation. The road is not going anywhere other than away. As you'll notice from the plat that was attached, there is currently an existing stub of what used to be the entrance into a former subdivision. That's the piece of property that currently belongs to the city and injects itself into the tract owned by NCRTD. About a year ago, they approached us to ask about vacating that portion of the stub so they could continue to move forward with the development of their maintenance facility. That process has moved forward as far as the maintenance facility goes, and now we're here to deal with the vacation of that roadway. So the vacation process basically means that the city reverts or gives up its claimed ownership, rights, development, et cetera, to that stub and grants that property to, in this case, North Central Regional Transit District. In exchange, in this case, because we are always working to increase connectivity across the city asked NCRTD to dedicate a new right-of-way for the potential development of a through street that would go between Riverside and McCurdy. At this point in time, we're about halfway there. The developer that was interested in building out the other half last summer has since moved on to other things, but we expect that that property will eventually get developed. And so we're certainly content to work with NCRTD to dedicate that right-of-way. At this point in time, it's a legal dedication of ownership of property. So that right away, that strip that's portrayed along the north end of the survey would become city property. NCRTD is going to be building only a very small portion of it as part of their entrance into their maintenance facility. And then we've entered into a development agreement, which is also included in the packet, that'll allow us to kind of cost share the further development of that road. For your information, those of you that may not already know, the city did have this on an ICIP request last legislative session and was actually awarded money towards this project as part of a Senate transportation bill that was unfortunately vetoed because of COVID. So our odds are really good, and we expect that we'll be able to do it here within the next couple years, but the development agreement gives us about a decade to kind of finalize this project. So that's what we're asking for today is basically the city to declare officially that we're vacating all of our rights to that kind of curvy stub portion. And then separate from that, but also part of the same resolution, is that we'll be accepting the dedication of right-of-way or the ownership of that new right-of-way across the top of their property. And then per their request, because of their proposed development of this, the renaming of the street from Silky Way, the current name for the portion that goes about as far as McDonald's, and instead naming that Blue Busway in honor of NCRTD and their engagement in our community, and particularly their development along this property. So that is the short summary, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Mayor, I'd like to make.
Motion for purposes of discussion.
We have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar and Councilor John Ramon Hill. That'll count as a first and a second. For purposes of discussion, Councilor John Ramon Vigil.
Richard, I have some questions regarding, so Silky Way will cease to no longer exist. Is this correct?
Councilor Vigil, so the portion of Silky Way that you and I and everybody in the public recognizes as Silky Way remains. That is not part of what's being vacated. The portion that basically runs between the AutoZone and the McDonald's kind of, well, it used to be Wiener Schnitzel, but this sort of dead ends there, that paved portion, that still remains Silky Way. That's still city-owned property, or I should say that still remains city-owned property. It would be renamed through this action, but the kind of question is related to, as you drive down that road and get to the stop sign, as it stands now, the kind of curve around the stop sign around the backside of the AutoZone, which is paved and serves as the entrance to the parking facility for the Blue Bus, that portion is not exactly, but mostly similar to the portion of roadway we're talking about vacating. So what would effectively happen is that that portion from the stop sign to the right would now become the property of NCRTD. And if you're sitting at that intersection currently, you'll see basically a dirt roadway that continues forward due east. And that dirt roadway effectively would become the new city right-of-way. It's currently an easement for some property owners back there. And so that easement's only 20 feet wide. This would actually widen the legal portion and change it from an easement to an actual right-of-way for that portion as shown on the plat. But the section of the street that's paved, that is basically between the AutoZone and the McDonald's, that remains unchanged. That is city property, currently would stay city property. The only difference that applies to that portion would be the renaming of Blue Bus Way. So the sign at Riverside would change to Blue Bus instead of Silky Way.
All right, for follow-up, I have some concern with our town becoming Anywhere USA. And I say this because Espanola is a unique community and it's tied to a lot of the families that have been here for generations. And for those of us that don't know, Silky Way is named after Silky Bell Aches. The Aches family came here almost roughly 100 years ago. They lived in that area on the right side of State Road 68, the left, the Loudermilk family where the transit mix is now, and the Merhidges. I have a problem with us going and doing that because, you know, Espanola's unique. Blue Bus Way, that's very neutral term. I mean, I think anywhere in the country can have that road, but to have a road that's named after one of the original families from the Fairview area, I think that'd be disrespectful to the descendants of that family that still live in that area and actually do still live up that roadway. And I think going forward, as this town grows, it's important that people know the history behind how this town came to be, and we don't erase that for the future. And so that we have that as a reminder. And I think it's important that everyone realizes the story behind each street name in our community, whether it's Calle Don Filigonio, and that Hill Street is not named after being on a hill, it's named after the Hill family. And that's important that all of us on this governing body realize we need to know what we govern and know the history behind what we govern in this city.
That's a point well taken, Councilor Vigil. As you indicated, this property was owned by the Aches, the Silky Bill and family, and we actually did have a conversation with Mr. Vernon Aches, who owns properties still, actually currently owns the property that's directly east of NCRTD. So where we had hoped to see that road continue through, that's his property. A potential developer last year chose not to purchase it, but we do expect that that will happen at some point. We also had discussions with Miss Barbara Aches, who actually is the one who currently benefits from that dirt road easement that is there specifically to service her property off of kind of to the east side of the NCRTD Blue Bus property. And both of them expressed very similar concerns. Mr. Akes gave me the story of how that area came to be, or how that street came to be named and how their family settled in the area. He also clearly expressed an understanding that while their family had ties to that land, most of their family properties have been sold off and developed by themselves or others, and that, progress moves things forward. And he was not opposed to, as I understood it, at least from our conversation, was not opposed to the renaming, or at least, he understood that that was applicable to, kind of the current development that was happening there. Of course, that is at the discretion of the governing body. The governing body is responsible for renaming streets, and should you choose to strike that provision from the resolution, we can certainly do that. And I do, like I said, respect the comments you made. And we did have discussions with the Akes family about that particular concern.
I'd like to amend my motion, Mayor, to retain the name Silky Way with the entire process vacating the right of way and such.
Mayor, I'm actually the one that made the motion, sir.
Right, so we have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar. The question is up to you whether or not we wish to amend that, or whether or not we vote on that. And then if that fails, then change the name back to Silky Way.
Mayor?
Mayor, I'd like to leave the motion the way it was originally stated by myself.
Mayor?
Counselor.
Mayor,
Yes.
this is Counselor. I'd like to see if I could persuade Mayor Pro Tem to adapt the new motion. Being one of the newest citizens of 27 years here in the Valley, I do agree with Counselor Behill that it is, that was history in that name. And by changing it, we wipe it off. And I don't agree of changing a name, especially with the history that it has in that area. So I ask Mayor Pro Tem if he could reconsider of retaining the name, giving respect to that family. I agree. And I ask if he would reconsider.
Perhaps I was going to say, perhaps for that consideration, would you like to speak, or would you like to go to Councilor Denise Benavides?
That's fine. Go ahead and go to Councilor Denise Benavides. If you can come back to me afterwards, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for that. Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to ask Mayor Pro Tem to reconsider his motion as well. Dr. Lindy Akes was a very close friend of mine and my husband's, as is Barbara Akes. Before Lindy passed away, he spoke to me in length about putting a subdivision there. And it was his wish to have that subdivision somehow come back to the family name. And I think by keeping the name of the road intact would help me to fulfill a wish to a friend who was a huge member of this community, and a doctor that was renowned and loved by everyone, and a good friend of mine. So I too would like to ask Mayor Pro Tem to please reconsider his motion. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In reference to this as well, I do understand the history of Silky Way, but at the same time, in regards to Blue Busway, this was an agreement I know between, in talking with Planning and Zoning Director Richard Hubler and the NCRTD. Is there any way we could look at possibly something into, satisfying both sides between NCRTD and Silky Way as well? I just want to look at that as a possible option. Maybe Mr. Hubler, do you have any response to that, sir?
Well, I mean, for something as simple as a name change, it seems to sort of be an either or. There's no benefit to having, a portion of the street named one and a portion of the street named something else. That's more confusing than, we've got some streets already in our town with the same name or very similar names. And it goes to the families, and I certainly understand that. This is something that the Blue Bus proposed. It was something that, seemed reasonable given their proposal. as indicated, recognizing the history in the area, also recognizing the current and future development. We do have the NCRTD director, I believe, with us on the call still, Mr. Mortellero. I don't know if he's available to speak or not, or if he's even still with us, but he was on the call earlier. And maybe get his take on this. I'm not sure, honestly, what kind of compromise we could have on a street name.
Mayor, if I may, yes, Richard, if I would love to, for Tony to be able to speak to this. Mr. Mortellero, you're on, right, sir?
I am, Counselor. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir, if the mayor's okay with this.
Yeah, I think that since our board already approved this agreement that incorporated the name change, we'd have to take this matter back to our board for discussion.
Okay, thank you, sir. With that
Yeah,
said,
just one other thing, I don't want to diminish the fact that the NCRTD has made quite an investment in the community as well. We employ 83 people. And this next investment is over $9 million. So, it's just, we're just not just anywhere USA in terms of our corporation and the investment we make in the community as well. So our board would need to have a discussion about any changes to this development agreement.
Thank you very much for that
thank you,
commentary.
Tony.
We have a question from Councillor Justin Salazar Torres.
So, Mayor, thank you for that. And listening to both parties, and I see where both are coming from, to not make such a confusing name, but why not just add blue to the beginning of it? Blue Silky Way. I mean, something so simple. That way both parties are pleased, I hope. Thank you.
Before that consideration gets taken, we'll now go to Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Wow. There's a lot to take in this situation. When I first read it on the packet, it seemed pretty cut and dry. And then as the conversations and opinions surface, you realize that it's not as simple as it looks. So, we certainly appreciate what NCRTD has done for the community of Española. We appreciate the 83 jobs that they do provide to the city of Española, but at the same time, I'm sure Mr. Mortellero would never want to change something that really meant a lot to the people of this community. And I don't know if he knew Dr. Akes at all, but he was the kind of guy that went out of his way to provide medical to people that couldn't even afford it. Many times he got up in the middle of the night to go to somebody's bedside and maybe not offer them anything medically, but definitely support them in their deepest, darkest moments. So this does put all of us in a heck of a situation, inclusive of NCRTD and especially Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim, since he sits on their board. I can only imagine how torn he feels in this situation. But I would say that the best thing to do is not to disappoint the bus people and not to disappoint the family and the community. I would think that maybe we could table this and ask staff to reach out to NCRTD and to the family and see if we can come up with some kind of a resolution that everybody can be a little happier with.
Mr. Mayor, if I could maybe respond to that request. I've got a resolution that would work for this evening because the action is actually a variety of different things and renaming the street is only a small portion. What could be done, for instance, this evening that would still give us some time, that the agreement that that the NCRTD approved, and the agreement we're asking the city to approve relates to, handling this name change within 6 months. The resolution that was presented tonight included that action as part of the resolution. But, a suggestion would be to simply, approve the resolution, striking item number 3 that says that we do hereby rename it. That would give us, NCRTD, and the community, up to 6 months perhaps to deal with this issue and bring back a resolution on the name change or lack thereof to the city governing body, still being in line with the contract that's already been approved by NCRTD, and actually removing that item from, separating effectively that from the consideration of tonight's action.
Motion to do that, sir.
Well, we already have a motion and a second.
No, you
Um,
have a motion, but you don't have a second because the seconder of the motion amended his motion and the originator of the first motion didn't agree to the amendment. So you don't have a motion. You have a
I don't
motion, but
think
you
the
don't have a second.
seconder has a chance to do that at that time because the motion was still on the floor. Only the person who made the motion has the chance to amend that motion at that time.
The seconder
and-
asked for the amendment.
Of just allowing a little bit of further discussion. I mean, I think this is an
Sure.
interesting
Sure.
debate. So without
Sure.
having to get so technical, if we could allow others to speak, I think that would be toward everybody's benefit.
Okay.
So if we can go to Councilman Manny Martinez, that would be great.
Thank you, Mayor. Listening to the different conversations, it is troubling, especially at a time when we see so much of especially this area being hit by changes of people wanting to basically come in and change things, change names. Most recently, we saw what happened in Santa Fe. So it's very sometimes disarming, and I don't mean any disrespect to the blue bus on that, but it's just that it seems like it's coming from everywhere and every changes. Yes, the Aikes were a very important family in this community. Many people know them, love them, and as Councilor Martinez stated, yes, he would help members of this community when they couldn't afford medical care. He was more than willing to still care for them, no matter what. It wasn't about making money; it was about helping people, and that's what Dr. Aikes, both his father and Lindy Aikes were both like. They were very well loved in this community, so it is very hard to see something like this happen. Because my question is, would we then open it up? Should another developer, another company come in and buy property in another area and say, okay, we're going to change this one now too, and this one now too, and it just becomes a domino effect. But I do think I like the idea that Councilor Salazar proposed, adding Blue Silky Way or even Blue Bus Silky Way. Would be a way of compromising and having both names placed there. One representing the new development that's coming into town, that's providing the 80 plus jobs and the more development of that area, but also the same way still protecting the heritage of the area and still honoring the name of the family that is there, sir. So that would be my proposal, sir. I've also been kind of watching some communities, and we have also some constituents in the area that feel the same way, and they've also feel that Blue Bus Silky Way would be a way of remedying both at the same time. So I would really hope that you guys would consider that, just so to honor the past and also bringing in the present. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, please go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, would I be able to yield the floor to Tony once more in reference to this?
Of course, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor Salazar. And I've learned a lot tonight. Just wanted to let you know, because frankly, I didn't know the history behind the name Silky Way. And I appreciate the council members sharing that with me tonight. And I can see the relevance of that and the importance that the family has to the city of Espanola. I think the last counselor's suggestion would be something that the district would be open to, where you kind of hyphenate it, recognizing the contributions from both entities, if the council is amenable to that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, let me ask a question before we go to you. Is that something that you would have to take back to your board, do you believe, or is that something that can be decided upon independently?
Mayor, I believe that that would be in line with the desire to have our name on the roadway, and we would not need to take it back to the board unless my attorney, who's on this call as well, advises me otherwise. But I think it kind of speaks to the intent of what we approved in asking for Blue Bus Way to be incorporated into that roadway in some fashion.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If at all possible, I would like to do that at this time, is to be able to amend my motion. Continue with the motion as is, with the exception of the name, where we could name it Silky Blue Bus Way. If the mayor and the council are adaptable to this, I would love to have the opportunity to make that my motion, at the same time honoring Dr. Lindy and Leonard Akes and the Akes family, as well as honoring the NCRTD and the Blue Bus for all the contributions they have made to city of Espanola and to the north central part of New Mexico as well.
Just for clarification, I've heard a few names out there. The first that I had heard was Blue Silky Way. You're suggesting Silky Blue Bus Way?
That's one of the suggestions, but again, as mentioned, something where we could put both names in there and be able to honor both of them, whether it's Blue Bus Silky Way, Silky Blue Bus Way, something to that effect. But I do know it was also originally named Silky Way, so maybe possibly leave Silky first and then put Blue Bus and then Way, Silky Blue Bus Way. That's just a suggestion. And at this time, I would be open to other councilors' suggestions within the name with all those together, the Silky and the Blue Bus.
Since we had heard first from Councilor John Ramon Vigil, we'll go to you, Councilor, to give your opinion there.
I have a couple of questions. I understand that in the NCRTD's plan, I'm not sure, it's just rumor, they plan to eventually move out of town, possibly to Santa Fe, if they're able to successfully grow. My concern is we need to look at the development code. If businesses are trying to come here to town, and I think Councilor Manny Martinez brought this up, I'd hate for when we redid Denny's over there on Riverside Drive, Denny's wanted to rename Thornton Lane to Denny's Lane or something like that. I think we're opening ourselves up to setting precedent, and we don't want to walk into that. So I just hope that we go with this manner of working with NCRTD, which I believe provides a great service to this community. But I'd hate for them in 10 years to decide they're going to relocate their office, and then now we have Silky Blue Bus Way, and it doesn't make any sense, and it has no relevance here to the area whatsoever. But I would be amenable to that, Silky Blue Bus Way. I think it's honoring the Akes family, their contributions to the Fairview Ranchitos area, and it keeps combining that past and that present stance.
All right, Tony, we'll go right back to you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address a comment by the councilor regarding the RTD and a rumor about eventually moving in the future. I want to make sure it's very clear that is, I don't even know where that rumor started from. We bought an additional 3 acres of land from Mr. Akes about 9 months ago, maybe less than a year ago. So we now own everything that is behind us all the way up to the 7 acres that he currently has for sale. We made that additional investment because of our planned growth in the area and in the community. We've got over $2 million plus invested in the current building. And come January of 2021, we'll be breaking ground on a $9.9 million new maintenance facility, which will be bringing on anywhere from 8 to 10 employees. We're not going anywhere. The location we have is central for our operations. We will be building other facilities in other communities because of logistics, but this is our main headquarters, and the district is not relocating and has no plans to move anywhere in the future, as far as I'm concerned. And it's never been in any of our strategic plans. You can look in our 20-year strategic plan; it's not in there. So I don't know where the rumor came from, but I just want to reassure you that we're in Espanola for the long haul.
Follow up, Mayor, to Mr. Mortolero.
We're going back to Councillor John Ramon Vigil and then Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mortolero. I think it's really important. You know, Jim West was a very close friend of mine. He was the original chair of the NCRTD board, and he had a vision, and I'm really happy to see how NCRTD has grown, and I'm really happy you were able to disprove that rumor. And I really look forward to the commitment the NCRTD has locally here in our valley and employs our workforce. And as long as they're a great partner to our community, we should be embracing you. And I think that tonight we're going to come up with an amenable solution in honoring the past and the present. So thank you, Mr. Mortolero, and thank you for continuing Jim West's dream.
Thank you.
Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate you staying on the meeting and having the input, because it helps the governing body to have as much information as possible to make good decisions for this community. The question I have for you deals with future development of any streets back there that you said you just purchased that property from Mr. Akes, and I'm wondering if there's going to be another street that's going to connect anything in the back there that possibly in the future we could name that Blue Busway and have that commitment from the city of Espanola.
Councillor, I'm not aware of any future street that would be occurring. As Richard indicated, the intent is for Silky Way, Blue Busway, or Silky Blue Busway to connect with McCurdy all the way through. I'm not aware of any other roadway connection that would be planned for the area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. We'll go now to Richard Huber.
I was just going to say on that note, there's not a lot of potential opportunity for further connectivity besides this through street, unfortunately.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor with the name change to Silky Blue Bus Way that Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar amended. Councillor John Ramon Vigil, are you amenable to that amendment for the second?
Silky Blue Bus Way?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion and a second. Can we please take a roll call vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor of the motion.
Councillor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Councillor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor of the motion.
Councillor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor of the motion.
Councillor John Ramon Vigil,
Absolutely.
Councillor Emmanuel J. Martinez,
In favor of the motion?
Councillor Denise D. Benavides.
Favor?
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Tony, for joining us and spending your time.
I
with us
appreciate it.
this
Thank
evening.
you all. Good night.
We'll now go on to the final letter on our agenda, K, approval of final plat, Planning and Zoning Commission case number 2020-01. I don't know how to pronounce that. Padam Properties LLC applicant is requesting approval of a final plat creating 4 new lots, adjusting existing lot lines and dedicating right-of-way for 5.558 acres of property currently addressed as 1112, 1114, and 1116 Plaza del Norte, UPCs 1-045-121-500-280, also 1-045-121-500-300, and 1-045-121-508-300. The subject properties are within the Lázaro subdivision planned unit development and are designated B1 General and Highway Service. We have the presentation by Planning and Land Use Director, Mr. Hubler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body. So this one's a little bit easier than the last. It's just a straight up final plat approval. Our process for subdivisions requires both a preliminary and a final plat go through the Planning and Zoning Commission, which makes a recommendation to the council, and then the final action is taken by the council before it's recorded with the county clerk. So that's the step of where we're at now. So to put this project in context, I had a couple questions about its location and exactly what's happening here. This is basically all the property that's currently surrounding, but not including the Lano Foundation building up off of kind of between Industrial Park and 31 Mile Road. If you go to the packet, the last 3 pages are very large. They're full scale drawings. Show kind of the 2 pages of the subdivision, what's required by our code with all the language thereon, and then one of the particular conditions that was required by the Planning and Zoning Commission was that site plan be stamped by the engineer of record, who is on the call this evening if we have questions. This basically takes what was private property, as I said, surrounding the Lano Foundation building, all under the same ownership. The building on the corner with Calle La Merced and Plaza del Norte, where an insurance agency is, the building next to that, and then all the surrounding vacant land. And it turns that from what had been basically 2 tracks into a total of 5, including the dedication of a 50-foot wide right-of-way. Plaza del Norte is currently a private street on private property. This changes that. And then in addition, some drainage improvements, some sidewalk and lighting improvements, the addition of a fire hydrant, and then the creation of a kind of a public or open space for drainage and public utilities. That tract is currently, as can be seen on the site plans, and if you're familiar with the area, is the kind of deepest part of the arroyo. It currently is burdened by runoff from Santa Clara Peak Road. When that road was built a number of years back, we did actually put in storm drains. We drained them to that arroyo. And so for the last 30-ish, 20-ish years, we've been burdening a private property owner with city storm runoff. So this changes that by granting that property back to ownership of the city. It does not change any of our kind of requirements as far as managing or maintaining that. It just means that we're no longer encroaching on private property with city storm runoff. So the plat, as you see on the second and third to last pages, create a tract to the east of the Lano Foundation that is accessed off of Santa Clara Peak Road. And then 2 tracks kind of on the northwest there that are also accessed off of either Santa Clara Peak Road or Plaza del Norte. And it leaves the other 2 remaining tracks that are off of Plaza del Norte essentially where they are. It just changes their lot lines a little bit to create that 50-foot wide right-of-way. So this did work through the full process, including a review by the development review team, which includes City Public Works. They had a number of comments back in January and February as part of the preliminary review. Those have all been addressed. There is a development agreement that's included in the packet. That's part of our requirement with the city as far as developing public improvements, things like sidewalks, street lights, fire hydrants. That's all included in here. That's gone through legal review and received approval both by our legal department as well as by the applicant. They'll be putting up money in escrow basically to fund that, and then building it out over the next year. And then the city will have the money if that should not happen, that we could do the build out as specified. So that's the very short version, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Oh, I should finally say that the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with a couple conditions. Those are noted in my staff memorandum. Those conditions have been met by the submittal this evening.
Motion to approve as presented, Mayor.
Second.
I have a question, Mayor.
Sure, just for clarification, we have that motion from Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, but I didn't get who seconded.
That was myself.
So Councilor Justin Salazar Torres. So for a question, Councilor John Ritchie, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Hubler, the question I have is the dedication of that drainage. You stated that we will not be held liable if there's any issues now caused by that drainage since we own it. It'll be given to us.
That's correct, Councilor Ritchie. No more so than we would be currently for effectively encroaching on private property. The plat does indicate, further drainage easements. That property has been draining as it is. We're not changing the drainage other than specifically creating some easements and routing some existing drainage better through those easements from developments on the top of the hill. But this absolutely benefits the city to have this open space. It allows us to, if we need to make changes on that tract to manage the drainage. But it does not, as I understand, increase our liability any more so than we currently have.
And one more question of the dedication of that private road. We're going to take over responsibility. What is has the street department signed off on that? And what is the long-term before we have to go back in and maintenance that?
Councilor Ricci, yes, the street department was included early on in the preliminary plat phase. In fact, they had a number of requirements back in February that were met before the final plat. That included engineered, kind of drawings of the roadway, as well as the creation of what's been termed during our hearing meetings, and you'll see referenced in our minutes, as a snow storage. It's effectively a drainage on the end of that road. That road currently exists, currently is curbed and guttered and paved to city specifications. It currently dead ends into the Lannel Foundation building. And as that Lannel Foundation was constructed, the process engaged the parking lot to be designed with effectively a hammerhead turnaround for the fire trucks instead of a cul-de-sac at the end of the street there. A cul-de-sac, because of the topography, was not as effective a solution. So right there where that road basically ends at the Lannel Foundation property, you'll see on the plat that there's kind of that's where that open space drainage tract comes up and joins the road. So that's where the streets department plans to plow snow to, if we ever get snow again, so that it can melt and drain and go down to that track and not be a burden to the private property next door. So yes, sir, the streets department absolutely was engaged in this process and did agree to the acceptance of the street.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Do we have any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor from Old Age is sitting in yet again. Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez with a second from Councilor Justin Salazar Torres. Let's take a roll call vote.
Councilor Denise D. Benavides.
In favor.
Councilor Manuel J. Martinez.
Favor the motion.
Councilor John Ramon Vihil.
For the motion.
Councilor Justin Salazar Torres.
For the motion.
Councilor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
In favor.
Councilor John L. Ritchie.
In favor.
Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Also in favor.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our agenda. I now call this meeting at an end. 9:14. Thank you so much. It was
Good
great
night,
seeing you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a motion to.
Bye. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Are we off?